Have you ever felt a growing distance between you and your adult children, like phone calls are shorter, visits rarer, and the warmth you once shared seems to be fading? If you're nodding, wondering why your heartfelt efforts to connect are met with tension or silence, the answer might lie in the words you're using without even realizing their impact. In this video, we're revealing the 5 toxic phrases elderly parents should never say to their adult children. Phrases so subtly damaging that number 3 could be quietly breaking your family apart. As someone who's seen families heal through better communication, I promise you'll discover not only what to avoid but also how to replace these phrases with words that rebuild love and closeness. Watch until the end to learn the one simple strategy that transformed a grandmother's strained relationships into a vibrant, joyful family bond, and how you can do the same before it's too late. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know, so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. Let me take you into the life of Margaret, a 74-year-old grandmother from Atlanta, whose story is both a cautionary tale and a beacon of hope for anyone seeking to mend strained family ties. Margaret was a devoted mother who poured her heart and soul into raising her 2 children, Emily and James. She cherished every moment of their childhood, late-night feedings, soccer games, college applications, and the countless sacrifices that defined her role as a parent. But as her children grew into adults with lives of their own, Margaret began to feel a growing distance. Phone calls became shorter and less frequent, visits dwindled to holidays, and her heart ached with a profound fear. She was losing the connection she had worked so hard to build. "I raised them, sacrificed everything for them," she would say, her voice trembling with tears. "Why don't they want to be around me anymore?" Margaret's pain was palpable, but the root of the problem remained a mystery to her until a pivotal moment changed everything. During a family gathering, her daughter, Emily, suggested they attend a session with a family therapist to address the tension that had been simmering for years. In that safe, guided space, Margaret heard words that shook her to her core. Emily and James, with vulnerability and courage, shared how certain phrases Margaret used, phrases she had always considered harmless, felt like sharp, invisible thorns piercing their hearts. These words, spoken without malice, had slowly eroded their desire to stay close. They loved their mother deeply but felt weighed down by guilt, judgment, and unintended criticism. The therapist helped Margaret see that her language, though rooted in love, was pushing her children away. With guidance and determination, Margaret embarked on a journey to change how she communicated. She practiced new ways of expressing her feelings, focusing on love, curiosity, and openness rather than blame or obligation. The results were nothing short of transformative. Within months, her relationships began to heal. James started calling every Sunday to catch up, sharing stories about his work and his kids. Emily organized a family barbecue, inviting Margaret to spend a joyful afternoon surrounded by her grandchildren. For the first time in years, Margaret felt the warmth of connection she had feared was lost forever. Her home, once quiet and lonely, buzzed with laughter and love again. Margaret's story is not an isolated one. It's a powerful reminder that the words we choose as parents and grandparents can either build bridges or erect walls within our families. If you've ever felt the sting of distance from your adult children, or if you worry that your family ties are fraying, know that you have the power to rewrite your story. By avoiding 5 toxic phrases and embracing words that foster love, understanding, and mutual respect, you can nurture relationships that thrive for years to come. Toxic phrase number 1. After all I've done for you. As a parent, it's natural to feel unappreciated at times, especially when your adult children seem too busy to call or visit. In those moments of hurt, it's tempting to remind them of the sacrifices you made. The sleepless nights rocking them to sleep, the second job to pay for college, the endless emotional support through their struggles. But saying, "After all I've done for you," is like handing your children an invoice for your love. It transforms your selfless acts into a debt they can never repay, leaving them feeling guilty, resentful, or inadequate rather than grateful. Dr. Laura Hensley, a family therapist with over 20 years of experience, explains why this phrase is so damaging. When parents use, "After all I've done for you," they create a transactional dynamic where love feels conditional. Instead of fostering closeness, it breeds resentment and emotional distance. The guilt this phrase induces can make children withdraw further, as they struggle to meet an impossible standard of repayment. Consider the story of George, a 77-year-old retiree from Dallas. George loved his daughter, Sarah, fiercely, but he felt hurt when her visits became sporadic after she started a demanding career. In moments of frustration, he would say, "After all I've done for you, paying for your education, supporting you, you can't even visit once a month?" Sarah, overwhelmed by guilt, began to dread their interactions. The more George leaned on this phrase, the more she pulled away, until their communication dwindled to brief texts. It wasn't until George worked with a counselor to reframe his approach that their bond began to heal. He learned to express his longing for connection without invoking guilt, and Sarah, relieved of the emotional burden, started visiting more often, eager to reconnect. What to say instead? Replace this toxic phrase with an invitation to connect that honors your child's autonomy and expresses your genuine feelings. Try saying, "I miss you so much, and I'd love to spend some time together. Could we plan a visit or a call soon? I'm excited to hear about what's going on in your life." This approach communicates your desire for closeness without making your child feel indebted. It reminds them that your love is a gift, not a contract, and invites them to engage with you freely. Your sacrifices were acts of devotion, not a ledger to be balanced. Let your children love you in their way, and you'll find the connection you crave. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Toxic phrase 2. Your spouse is turning you against me. Few phrases are as destructive to family harmony as blaming your child's partner for their distance. When you say, "Your spouse is turning you against me," you're not just criticizing their partner, you're questioning your child's judgment, loyalty, and ability to make independent choices. This accusation forces them into an impossible position, choosing between their parent and their spouse. In most cases, their spouse is their primary partner and the foundation of their adult life, so this loyalty conflict often ends with the parent feeling more isolated than ever. Dr. Samuel Carter, a family dynamics expert and author of Rebuilding Family Bonds, warns, blaming a child's spouse for family distance creates a loyalty conflict that can fracture relationships for years. It pits the parent against the child's chosen family, making the child feel defensive and torn. This phrase also risks alienating the spouse, who may feel unwelcome or judged, further reducing opportunities for family connection. Take the case of Helen, a 70-year-old widow from Chicago. Helen adored her son, Michael, but felt his visits became less frequent after he married his wife, Rachel. Convinced Rachel was the problem, Helen would say, "You never visit since you married her," or "She's keeping you from your family." These comments made Michael defensive, as he felt caught between his mother and his wife. To avoid the tension, he stopped inviting Helen to family events, and their relationship grew strained. The rift lasted nearly 2 years until Helen, with the help of a family mediator, apologized for her words and vowed to respect Michael and Rachel's marriage. She began inviting Rachel to coffee and asking about her interests, slowly rebuilding trust. Over time, Michael and Rachel welcomed Helen back into their lives, and family gatherings became joyful again. What to say instead? Shift the focus from blame to inclusion and collaboration. Try saying, "I cherish our time together and want to support your family. How can we make visits or calls work for everyone?" This approach shows respect for your child's relationship and signals that you value their spouse as part of the family. It also opens the door to practical solutions, like scheduling visits that accommodate everyone's needs. By embracing your child's partner, you strengthen your connection with your child and create a more inclusive family dynamic. Their spouse isn't the enemy, they're an extension of the family you love. Build bridges, not walls, and you'll keep your child close. Toxic phrase 3. In my day, we did things differently. The phrase "in my day, we did things differently" may seem like a harmless reflection on the past, but it often carries a subtle yet cutting undertone that can strain relationships with your adult children. When uttered in contexts like, "In my day, we didn't coddle kids," "In my day, we worked harder," or "In my day, we didn't rely on all this technology," it implies that the choices your children are making, whether in parenting, career paths, or lifestyle, are somehow inferior or less valid. This nostalgic framing creates an unspoken hierarchy, positioning your experiences as superior and their modern approaches as flawed. Over time, this can build an emotional wall between generations, leaving your children feeling judged, dismissed, or disconnected rather than supported and understood. Dr. Emmeline Gwynn, a gerontologist specializing in intergenerational dynamics, explains, this phrase, while often intended as a casual observation, dismisses the realities of your children's lives. It positions you as a critic rather than a partner, which can erode trust and openness. The modern world presents unique challenges: economic pressures, technological advancements, and evolving social norms that differ significantly from the circumstances of past decades. By framing your past as a benchmark, you risk invalidating the complexities your children navigate, which can make them feel unheard or misunderstood. Consider the case of Arthur, a 76-year-old retiree from Miami. Arthur frequently told his son, a father of 2 young children, "In my day, we didn't need all these gadgets to raise kids." He viewed his comments as light-hearted reflections on simpler times, but his son interpreted them as criticism of his parenting choices, particularly his use of educational apps and online resources. The result was tension. Their conversations became shorter, and Arthur's son grew hesitant to share details about his family life. The turning point came when Arthur attended a community workshop on modern parenting trends. Inspired to shift his approach, he began asking curious, open-ended questions like, "What's it like using those apps for your kids' learning?" This small change transformed their dynamic. His son felt valued rather than judged, and their relationship deepened as they began exchanging stories about parenting across generations. To avoid the pitfalls of this phrase, adopt a mindset of curiosity and humility. Instead of leading with comparisons to the past, try saying, "I'm fascinated by how you're raising your kids. Can you share what's new since my time?" This approach signals respect for your children's choices and invites them to share their perspectives without fear of judgment. It also creates a two-way dialogue, where your wisdom, honed by years of experience, can be offered as a gift rather than a lecture. For example, after listening to your child explain their approach to balancing work and family, you might share a relevant story from your past, framed as a collaborative exchange. "That reminds me of how we managed our time back then. It's amazing to see how you're tackling similar challenges in such a different world." This fosters connection, showing that you value their reality while gently weaving in your insights. Your life experiences are a treasure trove of wisdom, but their impact depends on how they're shared. By approaching conversations with openness and a willingness to learn, you create a space where your children feel respected and eager to connect. The goal isn't to erase nostalgia, but to use it as a bridge to understanding rather than a barrier. Toxic phrase for, "You never call or visit." Phrases laced with absolute terms like never or always are emotional landmines in family relationships. When you say, "You never call me," "You never visit anymore," or "You're always too busy for me," you risk erasing the efforts your adult children make to stay connected, no matter how small or inconsistent those efforts may seem. These statements can make your children feel as though nothing they do is enough, turning what could be warm, meaningful interactions into defensive battles. Instead of fostering closeness, such phrases often push your children away, as they feel accused rather than appreciated. Dr. Rachel Torres, a clinical psychologist who studies family communication, notes, absolute statements like never or always create a cycle of defensiveness and avoidance. They signal to your children that their efforts are invisible, which can lead to guilt, frustration, or even withdrawal. Adult children often juggle demanding schedules, careers, parenting, social obligations, and personal challenges that limit their time for frequent calls or visits. When their attempts to connect are met with criticism, they may feel discouraged, reducing their motivation to reach out. Over time, this cycle can erode the relationship, leaving both sides feeling isolated and misunderstood. Take the example of Evelyn, a 71-year-old widow from Seattle. Evelyn frequently told her son, a busy professional with a young family, "You never visit anymore." In her mind, she was expressing how much she missed him, but her son heard only criticism. He was already calling her weekly and visiting every few months, yet her words made him feel like a failure. Frustrated, he began to dread their conversations, and the frequency of his calls dropped. The strain continued until Evelyn's daughter-in-law suggested a different approach. Evelyn started expressing gratitude for their interactions, saying things like, "I loved our chat last week, it brightened my day," or "It was so special to see you last month." This shift had a profound effect. Her son felt appreciated rather than judged, and he began initiating more calls and visits, eager to share updates about his life. To break the cycle of blame, focus on positive reinforcement and empathy. Instead of saying, "You never call me," try, "I treasure our talks and would love to connect more. What's a good time for you?" This approach acknowledges your longing for connection without casting your children as neglectful. It also respects their busy lives, inviting them to collaborate on finding ways to stay in touch. For instance, if your child mentions a hectic work schedule, you might respond, "It sounds like you've got a lot on your plate. Maybe we could do a quick call on weekends." This shows understanding and flexibility, making it easier for them to prioritize you. Another strategy is to celebrate the moments you do share, no matter how small. If your child sends a quick text or shares a photo, respond with enthusiasm, "That picture of the kids made me smile. Thanks for sharing." By highlighting these gestures, you reinforce their value and encourage more of them. You might also consider adapting to their communication preferences, whether that's texting, video calls, or brief in-person visits, to make staying connected feel seamless rather than obligatory. Ultimately, your children want to feel that their efforts matter and that their relationship with you is a source of joy, not guilt. By focusing on gratitude and collaboration, you create a dynamic where they're motivated to reach out, knowing their contributions are seen and cherished. The result is a stronger, more reciprocal bond that thrives on mutual appreciation rather than obligation. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Toxic phrase 5. You'll regret it when I'm gone. This phrase is an emotional sledgehammer, weaponizing one's mortality to manipulate loved ones, particularly children. It's often spoken in moments of frustration, loneliness, or desperation for connection, but its impact is far from the intended goal of fostering closeness. Instead, it instills fear, guilt, and resentment, creating a toxic dynamic that can erode relationships over time. Rather than drawing children closer, it associates the speaker, often a parent or grandparent, with emotional manipulation, leading to strained bonds and, in some cases, emotional distance as children seek to protect themselves from the resulting psychological burden. Dr. Margaret, a seasoned family counselor with over 25 years of experience, explains, "Using mortality as a tool for manipulation doesn't build connection, it creates trauma. It places an unfair emotional weight on children, who may feel obligated to meet demands out of fear rather than love. This fear-based approach can trigger long-term consequences, including anxiety, guilt, and even avoidance of contact. For example, Robert, a 79-year-old retiree from Denver, frequently used this phrase with his adult daughter, Sarah, saying, "You'll wish you'd visited more when I'm gone." What Robert hoped would encourage more frequent visits instead made Sarah dread their conversations. Each call became a reminder of her perceived inadequacy, and over time, she began limiting contact to avoid the emotional toll. Their relationship grew distant, marked by tension rather than warmth. The turning point came when Robert, with guidance from a therapist, shifted his approach. Instead of leaning on guilt, he began expressing appreciation and joy, saying things like, "I love making memories with you. Let's plan a day together soon." This small but powerful change transformed their dynamic. Sarah felt invited into the relationship rather than coerced, and their bond grew stronger as they focused on creating positive, shared experiences. Robert's story illustrates a critical truth. Words rooted in love and gratitude are far more effective at building lasting connections than those steeped in fear or manipulation. A healthier alternative. To replace this toxic phrase, consider a more heartfelt and inviting approach. "Our time together means the world to me. Let's make more moments to cherish." This alternative emphasizes the joy of connection without invoking fear or guilt. It frames time spent together as a mutual gift, fostering a sense of warmth and shared purpose. By focusing on positive emotions, you create an environment where your children feel valued and eager to engage, rather than obligated or burdened. Your legacy as a parent or grandparent should be one of love, laughter, and meaningful memories, not a shadow of guilt that lingers after you're gone. Why these phrases are so harmful. Toxic phrases like, "You'll regret it when I'm gone," are dangerous because they're deceptively easy to say. In moments of hurt, loneliness, or desperation, they slip out almost reflexively, often without the speaker fully realizing their impact. However, their effects can be profound and long-lasting. Neuroscience research offers insight into why these words cut so deeply. Critical or manipulative language activates the brain's amygdala, the region responsible for processing threats, triggering a stress response similar to that of a physical danger. Over time, repeated exposure to such phrases can lead to emotional avoidance, as the brain learns to associate interactions with the speaker as a source of distress. For children, this can manifest as reluctance to engage, reduced communication, or even complete withdrawal from the relationship. The harm is compounded by the power dynamics inherent in parent-child relationships. Children, even as adults, often feel a deep sense of duty toward their parents, making them particularly vulnerable to guilt-based manipulation. When a parent uses their mortality as leverage, it exploits this sense of obligation, creating a dynamic where love is overshadowed by fear of future regret. This not only damages the relationship but can also leave lasting psychological scars, including feelings of inadequacy or unresolved guilt. Wow, we've just uncovered the 5 toxic phrases that could be silently pushing your adult children away, and the powerful, heartfelt words you can use instead to rebuild those precious family bonds. Your love for your children is limitless, and now you have the tools to let that love shine through in every conversation. I'm curious. What's one thing you've learned today that's opened your eyes or touched your heart? Maybe it's a phrase you didn't realize was harmful or a new way to express your feelings. Please share in the comments below one lesson you're taking away and how you plan to put it into practice in your life. Your story could inspire someone else to strengthen their family ties. If you found this video helpful, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insights on creating loving, lasting connections in your golden years. Let's keep building stronger families together.